Welcome to Coffee and Clarity, Preventing Substance Misuse. We're so excited to have Mr. Brusky, principal of Fairmont High School, and Mr. Wille, who teaches servant leadership at Fairmont, join us for today's episode. My name's Emily, and I'm here with Raina, and we're your hosts.
We're excited to talk about the work happening at Fairmont Jr. Senior High School, from promoting a positive school culture to empowering students through leadership and service. We'll also touch on how these efforts support mental health and encourage healthy choices, contribute to preventing substance misuse. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being on the podcast. Can each of you tell us a little bit about yourselves?
Sure. I'm Chad Brusky. I'm the principal of the high school. Before that, I was a principal at Tremont Elementary for a handful of years. And before that, I was assistant principal at Vandenberg Middle School in Elk River. And I taught science for about 10 years before that. And I got two kids that are in the Fairmont School District. They love it. They're active participants in a lot of sports and after-school programs. And my wife and I have just really enjoyed getting to know Fairmont. I mean, we are 100% transplants. We're not from around here, but kind of plugging into friend groups and putting our roots down, and have really enjoyed getting to know the community and the people.
I'm Brian Wille. I'm originally from Truman, Minnesota. I'm a 2007 Truman graduate. I've been teaching here in Fairmont for the last 10 years. I'm a world history teacher, a college in the schools world history teacher, and then a servant leadership course teacher as well. My wife is also a teacher here at the high school. She teaches 9th grade English. Prior to coming to Fairmont, I spent 3 years in the Redwood Valley School District, teaching a variety of different social studies courses for Redwood Valley High School. And so being here the last 10 years has been a great blessing. Our family is from this area, so it's being neat to come back to be part of their story and be around them. I do have two younger daughters, Kennedy, who's 5 years old, and Peyton, who's 2.
How could you describe the overall culture at Fairmont High School and what makes it unique?
I've been in a couple different school districts. I've been in a smaller school district like MCW, and I've also been in Elk River, which had like 4,800 students in one building, 912. And I think what's really unique about Fairmont is just our size, but yet what we have available to students. We get that personal connection. We know most students by name in the hallways, which is something you don't get at a really big school, but we still have all the resources like the college and the schools classes that Mr. Wille teaches. We have CTE, we've got, so that includes welding and woods and auto, aviation, and then we have fine arts. I mean, we've got a fantastic fine arts department where we had 138 kids come out. And then all of our extracurriculars, where regardless of what your passion is, we have something for everybody, and that's not always necessarily the case in extremely small districts. So I think it's that like perfect blend of like large school resources with small school relationships.
Yeah, and to echo that, I would say that our school culture is based heavily on the people who make up our school district, from a support staff standpoint to the staff who's there, the administration team, but also the students. Our students come from a wide walk of lives, and they have an immense amount of talent, and we can see that through all the different types of activities that they're involved in. Our students' backgrounds, their stories, their talents make our district pretty special. You look at the community support that supports these students, and you can see that this school district brings a tremendous amount of pride to the residents of Fairmont and in the supporting communities. So you feel kind of that family sense when you're inside of our school district, from the standpoint that you have a group that really supports those that are really important to them, which is our community supporting our students. And hopefully our students then go out to be very productive members of society who are looking back fondly on their experience at Fairmont Jr. Senior High School. And I think so far, and great credit to our students and our community. So far, I think we're accomplishing that. And if we're not, we're still working towards accomplishing that each and every year.
What values do you hope to instill in students through the culture and programs at Fairmont High School?
The values that I would look for would be, service, integrity, and humility. The programs that I deal with servant leadership, we're trying to develop the next generation of servants, trying to use their platform, the best that they can to give back to those in a variety of different ways. We want our students to be individuals who are going to do things the right way, even when other people aren't looking. And that's going to take a tremendous amount of discipline. But we believe that by instilling our kids and supporting the values that are instilled in them with their families and our community, that we can create productive members of society who will do the right thing on a consistent basis and make everybody else's lives better because of it. And then being humble servants, individuals trying to use their platform for good, not being arrogant or boastful, but just being thankful for the opportunities they've been given, the platforms they've been given, and then just the ability to impact positively other people's lives, whether it be a small gesture that's going to go a long way towards individuals or doing something transformational that drastically changes somebody's life path. However that may fit on the spectrum, we're just hopeful that we can be one small piece of that pie and connect people together to good resources that unlock the happiness in their lives.
Why do you think fostering leadership and service is important for high school students?
I think leadership and service are incredibly important for high school students because you're kind of at that age where you're starting to look at what's beyond high school. After I move out of mom and dad's house, what's going to be my impact and how do you have the grit to do that? And, leadership is one of those things that there's a lot of different views on what leadership might be, but really it's like I try to lead by servitude leadership, and that's putting other people's needs ahead of mine and just letting them be free to kind of make choices and take it where it can go. If you can inspire that passion in someone, so like with our high school students, they're kind of learning what are their passion projects, what are the things they're really amped up about, and what careers that might lead to. If they have leadership and they have that mentality to put others first, the sky's the limit because they're not going to be held back on what's for me, I'm just doing it for a paycheck. I mean, those are things that are really going to limit us as people. If we're doing it because it's the right thing to do and it's going to help our community, those are the things that really drive change.
Mr. Wille, what inspired you to start teaching servant leadership, and how do you see it impacting your students?
It's a variety of different things. You look back at some of the mentors that I've had in my life, whether it be my family members like my parents and grandparents. Andy Trado, who's been a really huge role model for me growing up. My uncles and my aunts who are all involved in education, they have really set kind of the tone for me of what it means to be a servant, just kind of how they've conducted themselves in their professional lives. And, I look at, the administration team that I'm fortunate to work for. I look at the staff members that I'm fortunate to work alongside. And I think there just was this collective desire to find a way to develop the next generation of leaders, not necessarily just in Fairmont, but to wherever they decide to take their lives. One of my mentors really kind of instilled in me the value of like the greatest legacy you can leave behind somebody is the inspiration you provide to the next generation of dreamers. And so what I wanted to do was find a way to use my platform as a teacher and as a coach to find a way to connect people together and connect them to their dreams, the resources that they need, and then help be a small piece to the success of hopefully students' lives, but then also our community. So hopefully what our program is going to do is give students the platform that they want to enact change in a variety of different ways of their life, to give them the confidence that they need to go out and make meaningful change, because it's going to take a little bit of bravery. And as we talk about, sometimes leadership might feel a little bit lonely because you're standing out there and expressing your values and beliefs to others who might not agree with that. And then also at the end of the day, giving people the ability to chase their dreams and become the best version of themselves possible. I think those type of skills can transfer to any avenue of life, and I just wanted to be a small part of that. But truly, the success doesn't come from anything that I do. It's all about the people who are involved in this program. That's our students, our staff, and our community members.
Mr. Brusky, how do you see programs like Cardinal Days contributing to the overall culture and sense of community at the school?
I thought the community day, we had to postpone it from last year. And so we knew we were going to move to an advisory model and that Mr. Wille was going to be a big piece of that. And having done community days in the past, it's the lived experience of all of the things we're going to be focusing on through the work of Mr. Wille that kids can actually like say, remember when we did this? And so like a good example is, I run an advisory too, and our kids were kind of like, I don't know, like what's this all about? And when we came back, the pride they had in what they have done and putting others first and what that requires of us to do was just incredible. There was a buzz in the building, and kids are smiling and sharing what happened, and honestly making really good connections with a community that supports the school so incredibly well. And inviting those folks back into our spaces. The individual we worked with had never even been to a football game at our school because they would go to the old school, and no one ever thought. She's like, oh, no one ever invited us to that. I was like, well, come on out, because it's going to be a good game. And so, just building those connections, those leadership skills. It's funny how some of the kids that you don't see that in a school setting are able to reflect that in an alternate setting in those project pieces, and just seeing who your natural leaders come from that, and then just building off of those experiences.
How does volunteering in elementary classrooms during Cardinal Days benefit both high schoolers and younger students?
I would say, the experiences that I've seen students have is you're building that community in our district. So you're having the current level and leaders of our community at the high school level now starting to develop and connect with the future leaders of this district. And I think that's so vital, because now you are seeing the efforts kind of work their way through our system, and you're building connection and community. And I think a large part of being a good servant is building that community, and by doing things that are not going to necessarily have to cost you any money, that just cost you your time and your efforts. And you see it as our high school students now going down with the elementary, whether it be helping them out on Cardinal Days, greeting them as they come into school. That builds a feeling of inclusion. It builds that feeling of you're part of something bigger than yourself. And the hope is that we can then continue that building all the way through, and then you're just going to have a more productive environment that all kids can thrive in.
Mm-hmm. From the administrative side, there's no way those days work without our student volunteers. We have over 600 kids coming to the elementary school, so we need good people working with those kids, to keep their education moving forward and giving them an experience that they enjoy. My kids come back from Cardinal Days and they are just like, I met this kid and I met this kid and I met this kid. It's really cool to hear that. And then it comes back to our high school kids, like, never underestimate the influence you have over some of these kids. My little girl, Claire, she had to go to a game because she made a connection with one of these students. Like, we need to go to the JV girls basketball game because this person, helped me out and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, or my son looking up to the football players, coming and greeting. I mean, just, you never can underestimate the influence you have on them. And then the other piece too is we talk about like substance abuse and avoiding substance abuse. I think recognizing the influence you have on others helps hold yourself to a higher standard and keeps yourself accountable, because you realize your actions aren't just going to affect you, it's going to affect those that look up to you and those that you have influenced.
What role does the advisory program play in supporting students academically, socially, and emotionally?
Well, it's kind of a work in progress, to be honest with you right now, because it's going to be adaptive to the needs to our students. And so whatever the needs are of our students at that given year, at that given time, we're going to try to be respectful of that and try to be responsive to that. So if our students need help, making connections with other individuals, we're hopefully going to have skills and lessons that will address that. If students are struggling with certain academic trends and content, we're hopefully going to be able to address that inside of our advisory model. So, whether it is something as tangible as this is how you make connections with people, here's how you introduce yourself to people, to giving kids resources on really sensitive topics like, anxiety and depression, which are real things that our kids are experiencing, to also giving them resources of here are certain types of avenues you can go and seek out if you need support in things such as your academics, your athletics, and connecting those people together. I think that's what the advisory program is again, really helping kids become the best version of themselves possible, and using us as a school district as kind of like the conduit of putting everybody together and being kind of like the connector of information for everyone.
Mm-hmm. And I would also say the opportunity to build relationships. So our advisories are, you have the same advisor throughout your entire high school career. And so, like, by having that face that you're used to talking to, going through some of these topics, if you're facing something in your life, it's way easier to share that with someone that you feel a connection and a bond to, and that you've experienced things like a service day and done those team building pieces versus a complete stranger. We have a lot of resources, not just through our social workers, but on-site counseling. We've got chemical prevention programs. We have a lot of different things, but it's hard to bring those resources to help an individual if those individuals don't know who to ask for that help or if that help's even available. And so that's another piece of the advisory program, is to continue to build those relationships so that if someone is struggling, they feel like they have that one person they can go to and ask for help.
How do these programs, Cardinal Days, the Service Day, and Advisory, help promote positive mental health among students?
I think going off to what Mr. Brusky talked about, it's a big part of building the mental health is building connection, that feeling you're not alone, and so in order to do that, we have to build authentic connections with our students, and our students need to build authentic connections with one another so they can feel like they're not alone. I think one of the biggest stigmas, going around with mental health is that, we want to destigmatize it, but at the same time, there's individuals who might be a little bit hesitant about expressing themselves of, I'm struggling, I'm not okay right now. And I think in order for them to feel supported, they need to feel connected to something. And so hopefully these programs make them feel like they can be proud of who they are, that they're not alone, that they're connected, and that they're supported by so many people who care about them. And so in order to do that, we need to show kids how to build these connections, show them the fruits of their labor when they make these connections, and then give them the platform to foster future connections that they can build with other people inside our district and possibly out.
A big two aha moments for me last year was when we were going through the strategic planning process and hearing what students are looking for in the school day, and that's to be seen, to be respected, that teachers are respected, to feel a sense of community. And then the Teen Truth presentation that Empower brought in, it was raise your hand if you're going through this, that, the other thing. And the overwhelming feedback we got from students is how good it felt to know that they weren't the only ones dealing with a certain situation, and so often with like mental health or substance abuse or sensitive topics, we tend to try to like help people in isolation. And from that experience, it's okay to work through things as a group, because it's good to know you're not the only one going through that. There's a sense of power in that it's not just happening to me. This is something that we experience, and people make it through to the other side, and I'm just going to do my part, have that grit to invest in myself, and it's okay to invest in myself so that I can be the person I want to be on the other side.
How do you think student involvement in these initiatives encourages healthy choices and helps reduce substance use?
Well, I think a big piece of it is understanding that us as individuals have such a broader influence, not just on our friend group, but on the community as a whole. And if we hold ourselves to a higher standard, or we have the leadership skills to stand up for what's right, regardless of peer pressure, I think that really helps our students make healthier choices for themselves, and understand that by making those healthier choices, they're role modeling for younger kids, like we talked about earlier, what it means to live a productive and rewarding life. And that there are distractors out there. There's chemicals that some people may take that are just Band-Aids over stab wounds, and that there's a network of support by building relationships that to really dive down and take care of what's causing the use in the first place. And so whenever there is use, or we suspect use with a student, the first thing we ask is, are you okay?
And so, building off of that, one of the things that I think about is just simply having the conversation and showing this initiative matters, I think goes a long ways towards showing these kids kids that you're supported. Like, we're talking about these things. We're talking about mental health. We're talking about substance abuse and showing that it does matter. We want people in our community who are healthy. We want people in our community who are supported and feel supported. And so I think by us taking the initiative to try and make it something that matters and something that we value, I think that then shows kids the value in it as well, that they can then be choosing a life that's going to be positively affecting their mental health, but then also choosing a life that is substance free, that it is an option, that they don't feel like they have to be pressured into doing one thing or the other. I think this gives them that healthy alternative that they can choose to, but while also feeling that if I make a mistake along the way, that there's help out there to help get me back to where I want to be.
Mr. Wille, can you share a story about a student who embraced the principles of servant leadership and made a meaningful impact in the school or community?
Yeah, there's several stories that I would go to. I'm not going to name anybody individual because I just want to respect their growth as individuals on their way out. But I've heard a couple of stories of students I had last year in our first year who are now seniors at our high school who are using their platform to be leaders in their athletic programs. I'm hearing stories about them, unifying the team together and organizing team bonding activities, organizing, servant opportunities through other platforms to, give back to the elementary or give back to their local church groups or give back to, other local nonprofits. They're using the opportunity to connect with people. And then I even see small things where we have students who are in my class right now in years past who are going and connecting with 7th and 8th graders and 9th and 10th graders, and they're following up on that. It's not just something that is a requirement. They're continuing to make authentic relationships. I think of one student who, when we first went into the classroom, we were told by the cooperating teacher that this student doesn't like to engage a lot with other people. And we sat one of our individuals down with that individual. And it's incredible that by the end of that time, they couldn't stop talking about certain interests because I think that individual felt like somebody wanted to see them, came down to their level and wanted to genuinely understand who they are. That individual still checks in with this individual, like in the lunchroom when they see him in the hallway, just a simple greet. That goes so far with these kids saying, I want to come to school. I want to be part of that. And I'm hopeful that now that individual, when they become, leaders of our school building, that they're also investing in those type of relationships as well. And really, to be honest with you, I'm not going to truly know how impactful this program is until 5, 10, 15 years down the road, if we're being honest. Like, are these people being productive members of society? Are they the next leaders of their own lives, in their own communities? And I'm confident that they will be, but I don't think we truly will understand how great the things that we are doing right now and how great the impact is until many years down the line when these individuals, all the lives that they've impacted are starting to come to fruition. And I can tell you, these kids are the secret to this entire program. The connections they make in that building, they are what's creating the culture of this building. I'm just the connector of information. So all the credit to the kids for carrying on this tradition. Hopefully that's going to outlive me, outlast me. I just sincerely hope that the connection that we're building in this school is transformational, that this school can be a place that people want to be a part of going forward.
What are some challenges you faced in building a positive school, and how have you worked to overcome them?
I would say, one of the challenges is, there's so much accountability in education, and it's all about, test scores or data and things like that. And what we're trying to do with culture is something that's very hard to measure. Mr. Wille just said, we might not know what that impact is for several years or until a kid reaches out after they've gotten their dream job and says, thank you for instilling this because it's made that difference. So that's a challenge. I would say the other piece too is sometimes public perception of what school should be versus what it is. The movies, it's you sit down, you listen, someone speaks in front of you, you write it down, you test, and that's school. But school, especially post-COVID and the pandemic, has become so much more. Before the pandemic, student surveys were I want high rigor, I want good curriculum, I want things like that. That didn't even make the list. It's about, I want to feel like I belong, I want to be seen, I want to build relationships, I want to feel safe. And so really breaking down the stereotype of what a school is all about and supposed to provide, and responding to the needs of our kids. And as new kids and new groups come to our building, we have to be adaptable. And I thought you said it best, like the kids drive it. They have to let us know what their needs are, what are they seeing, what's emerging that maybe we as the old adults aren't seeing, and what can we do to help. And oftentimes the kids have the answers, we just have to listen to them.
How do you see student leadership influencing the school culture and encouraging their peers to make positive decisions?
I think it's everywhere if we decide to look for it. Student voice and choice is available in how they express themselves every single day at school, the attitude they bring themselves with to school, to sporting events within the community, how they decide to help their fellow classmates and non-fellow classmates with the various challenges that a typical school year is going to present themselves. Our kids are doing that. But to be honest with you, our kids were doing that before this servant leadership program came into place too. We're just trying to highlight that and build upon it. One of the things, again, that I wanted to do with my platform was connect more people who are doing the right things with other people who are doing the right things. There's just so many different forces that were doing so many positive things, and unfortunately we don't celebrate them enough. And so hopefully this program isn't in it for the notoriety or for, good pats on the back that we're doing something great. Hopefully all of our productivity comes in the relationships that are built, the memories that are created, that are authentic through these kids' experiences, but then also now allowing these kids to have the authentic power to start to reinvest. And this is what our school is going to be going forward. They're going to drive the change. And simply being a part of that has been a super humbling and rewarding experience for me. And I'm super excited to see kind of how it goes forward. But at the end of the day, the students need to continue to drive it. And we're seeing it every single day. I think we just need to celebrate all the great things that we're doing more often than we already probably do.
And we have the natural leaders that are in that building, and giving them a common language to use when leading programs and things like that is really great. The other piece too is we have a lot of students who maybe don't feel comfortable leading yet, and being able to look at a role model, someone who is a peer, and say, well, if they're doing that, I should be able to do that. And then recognizing that work that they're doing to help incentivize others to make those positive choices is everything that we're doing right now. And it's hard work, it's important work, and I think it's making a difference in our building.
And one thing to build off of that, Mr. Brusky talked about the student surveys and the strategic plan that our district had going forward. Well, the students talked about some of the values that they want our school district to have. And I think our administrative team has done a great job of taking those values of what our students say, this is what our school should be about. And we're now empowering students to make sure this is what we are all about, by being kind of the maintenance of those values, the instilling of those values. And I think our students are doing a great job right now of making sure that these things are what we want to be, because they're the ones driving the vision going forward.
How does Fairmont High School collaborate with parents, the community, and organizations like MixApp to support its students?
I think it just comes down to letting groups know the need and the opportunity to come in, and extending invitations and asking people to come into our space, or we'll go to their space, in order to let them know what challenges we're facing, what are our values, what do our students value, and then from that comes organic conversations on, hey, have you ever thought about this? No, how could that work? And then just kind of let it back to the leadership pieces, letting good ideas percolate and go. Mr. Wille had the idea for the leadership course, and I have full faith in Mr. Wille. I'm like, if he says it's going to be good, I know it's going to be good. And it's like, all right, go for it, run with it. He didn't have it, well, he had a lot of it laid out, but I mean, not 100% laid out. Same thing with the advisory, but we know it's a means to meeting the needs of our students, and that's ultimately what we're all about. And so with the community, with MixApp, with all these other groups who have students' best interest at heart and in their mission, we need to make sure that we continue to make connections with those groups so that we can bring all resources we can to bear. Because as a school, we can only do so much, but there are other organizations out there that might reach a kid who maybe the school doesn't. It might be the perception that school is the worst thing in the world and I hate that place, but yet this other outside group who is providing the exact same communication and resources, well, they're fine because they're not the school. I don't care where a kid gets their help from or any resources, as long as they're getting it.
And for me, it's just about helping create that shared vision. I think with all this in an era of a great division, differencing of opinion can be incredibly healthy. But at the end of the day, I think we all have so many things in the same mindset, that we have a shared vision for our kids, that we want what's best for them. And I think what's best for them might look a little bit different depending on who you ask, but I still think we all want kids who are going to be happy, productive members of society. And I think we all have very different perspectives on how we get there, but it can be so powerful if we unite all those different perspectives into getting back to our shared collective vision, which is helping students be the best version of themselves possible, productive members of society, and at the end of the day, happy individuals. And I think every single piece of that, whether you're a parent, a community organization, we all provide a unique perspective that would be so valuable if we could all get it all streamlined and unified. And I think that's our job as adults, to find a way to find that collective vision and then to share it with everybody else.
Looking ahead, what is your vision for the future of these programs and for continuing to strengthen the school's culture?
I think just continuing to empower our students to let us know what they need and then take on those leadership roles to help create change. Communicate what our values are going to be as a building. We do things kind of like the See Some, Say Something form, which helps them report if they have a concern about someone or bullying or chemical usage in the building. Through that, through students saying, I'm worried about someone, we have hooked a lot of students up with resources that we would have missed. So that's one avenue. Listening lunches, going around, hey, what's going well in the school? What's struggling? What ideas do you have to make it better? Those are things that we're going to start rolling out on a more frequent basis to continue to make sure that the values that students have given us during the strategic planning process are still in alignment with what our current population is valuing. And so it just comes back to that continued voice and choice that our students will have, and then empowering them to have opportunities and have a seat at the table to share what they believe they need in the building.
And speaking, directly from my servant leadership course or the advisory course, whatever it is that we're using for servant leadership here at FHS, one of the things that I'm hopeful of the future is that we connect our district even more than we are right now. Currently, right now, my juniors and seniors, we work in 8th grade classrooms every single day of the week, and we're trying to build that community between 8th graders and then also our upperclassmen. The hope is that we can then extend that now down to the elementary school, possibly get into the 6th grade a little bit more to help that transition from our elementary school to the high school. It's a numbers game right now. We can try to get as many places as we can, but we are quite limited. So that's part of us growing our program and growing the next generation of leaders, so then we can positively impact more people. If we could get it down even into the lower elementary, how great would that be? Is now that as the kids are growing through, like the things we've talked about, they have faces that they know that they go to, they have people that they can trust, and that every time that they are growing up another level in terms of their grades, in terms of their maturity, they're able to give back to those who have walked in their shoes or are going to walk in their shoes one day. So that's really what my vision is. But at the end of the day, my vision is helping transform Fairmont into a place where kids can walk into that building, which my daughters one day hopefully will, and walk into that building saying, this is a place that I take great pride in. This is a place that I hope one day that my children and their children can come into. And so we start building a community and a legacy of great things and that are driven by the people who make it great, which is our students and our staff and our community.
Mm-hmm. And even behind the scenes, we've pivoted away from some of the curriculum work and things like that. And we're going through a learning journey right now for belonging and how to create a heightened sense of belonging in the classroom and then within the school itself. And then also we're doing restorative practices as a staff to kind of make connections with each other. Because if a staff is fully committed and fully connected, students can sense that. Students can sense that we're not faking it here. We actually have mutual admiration for each other and respect for each other. And if students can sense that, they understand that that is a value we have and that they can be a part of as well. And so there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes too when it comes to professional development of staff and things like that we're putting our money where our mouth is. We're not just leaving it, we're doing these things and we did a survey. No, we're investing time and energy into these things because they are truly important.
Thank you so much, Mr. Brusky and Mr. Wille, for joining us on Coffee and Clarity, Preventing Substance Misuse. It's been amazing to hear about the programs and initiatives at Fairmont High School that are making such a positive impact on students and the community.
From Cardinal Community Days to advisory programs and servant leadership, it's clear that Fairmont is setting an example of how schools can inspire students to lead, serve, and make healthy choices. We're so grateful for the time you've taken to share your insights with us.
Thank you for the opportunity.
For our listeners, thank you for tuning in on another episode of Coffee and Clarity. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future episode. And as always, let's keep working together to support a healthy, thriving community.